Hey there, K-pop listeners and old people. It's Norm here with another disclaimer. So again, this episode we had a little bit of mic trouble, which I have done my best to clean up, but the audio quality on this one isn't quite what I'd like it to be. This is the last episode we recorded before I realized that we had a bad mic, so it should be better from here on out. But apologies for the quality, but we do talk about some good stuff on this one, so on with the show. Hi there, my name's Norm. I'm an old person.
And I'm Ari, a K-pop fan.
And this is K-pop for old people.
Yeah.
Where we talk about K-pop, and I learn about a new K-pop group every week.
Yes.
New to me. Not new to Ari, because Ari knows all about K-pop and I know nothing. So, speaking of that, who are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about SSERAFIM.
SSERAFIM, yeah. All right. Well, before we get to SSERAFIM, how's it going with you?
It's going pretty okay.
What's new?
Been getting back into school and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. School started. How's that going?
It's going pretty okay, I guess.
Yeah, I know. We're still not quite into the full routine of it. It's only been a week?
Yeah.
So.
Pretty much.
Still adjusting, but that's cool. So, as is my usual practice, I have watched some videos and listened to some songs, and since last time we talked about New Jeans, I've been listening to a lot of New Jeans music. A lot. I mean, compared to in the past, I would take, 2, 3, maybe 4 songs that I would listen to that you recommended to, but I started going down a New Jeans rabbit hole, no pun intended, because, of course, New Jeans is very rabbit-centric.
I guess.
I certainly observed that. We mentioned it last time, and I can definitely see the rabbit iconography coming up a lot.
Yeah.
So let me start off by saying this. New Jeans, in my opinion, is an enigma. One that I'm still processing and trying to figure out. That's not a bad thing. Backing up, I started out listening to songs on Spotify. And then I started watching the videos of the songs that I had already listened to. Mm-hmm. And every song I listened to and every video I watched was like peeling back another layer to find some new thing revealed to me. And I know this is weird, especially since in the past I've had very little reaction to some of the stuff that I've taken in. But this one really started to I started to find something there that I haven't observed before, and I don't know if I can even explain exactly what it is, but am I a New Jeans fan now? I might be, I don't know.
Are you a bunny?
I might be a bunny.
I mean, I would probably consider myself to be a New Jeans fan.
Okay. Well, let me get into the details here. I'm going to try to be brief about it, but we're going to be talking about New Jeans for a bit, I think, before we get to SSERAFIM.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because I have things I want to talk about. Anyway, so starting at the beginning, the first song that I listened to was ASAP.
One of my favorite New Jeans songs.
Okay, cool. That one I definitely wrote down when we talked last time, because you described it as, I think you said fairycore / horror?
Yeah, kind of grunge fairycore, maybe.
Okay, so that was interesting. So when I listened to it without any music video, song only, it didn't really connect with me. But then I watched the video.
Yeah.
And I could see where you were coming from with the fairycore part of things.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of rabbit iconography going on in there. I didn't really catch the horror part of it. I was curious what you felt was horror that connected.
Not really horror, but sort of kind of spooky-ish.
Yeah, so...
Like the fact that they were dancing at night with these bunny people in the background.
Right.
Kind of spooky.
There's there's something going on with New Jeans. And this is like, again, I'm still figuring it out. I don't fully understand it, but I think I like it, which is like a lot of the other girl groups we've talked about, they're doing the dancing, they've got the fashion, they look great. The songs are love songs mostly, so there's like that aspect, but woven through all that is this very subtle hint of like melancholy and something a little sinister.
Yeah, I can understand what you mean. Like with the whole thing of like either they're all dead and you're hallucinating them, or one of them is still alive and they're hallucinating the rest of them. Something like that, maybe.
And it's not just this song, it's like all of the songs, kind of.
Yeah.
There's just something like, I don't know how to describe it, but they do a really good job of it. It's I
think I might kind of understand what you're talking about. It's
the subtlety of it for me. If your group's concept was sinister, like horror or whatever, like usually that's front and center. But with them, like, it almost feels like what it feels like to be... This is going to sound weird. It feels to me like, speaking as an old person, it feels to be a young person in its depth and complexity, which is like, there's beauty and romance and fun and also like sadness and difficulty, and I'm still trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
Anyway, about the song ASAP, or ASAP, depending. They say it both ways.
Yeah. I feel like I would probably call it ASAP because there's like a Stacy song called ASAP, which is completely different.
Okay, fair enough. The hook is the TikTok thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't listened to the song, go listen to the song. Like, it's a repeating thing throughout the song is they're saying TikTok, TikTok. In a rhythmic way. And when I was just listening to it in Spotify without any visuals, that just struck me as like, because it's ASAP, as soon as possible, it's like
a
time metaphor.
Like clocks.
And clocks and all that, exactly. And also it's a rhythmic thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like a metronome, kind of. It's, in a sense, reinforcing the beat of the song. But then when I watched the video, they spelled it like the social media, like TIKTOK rather than TICKTOCK, like you would when you're talking about a clock.
Yeah.
And I was curious if you think that was a conscious choice because TikTok is where youth culture lives a lot right now.
When I think about the platform TikTok, it doesn't really connect with the song. Because, I always remembered it being C and not K.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me, the platform, until I watched the video and saw that it showed up spelled that way. And I was like, oh, are they trying to subtly, again, like...
promote TikTok?
Not necessarily promote TikTok, but
maybe
connect with the culture of TikTok in a way of like... Because so much about TikTok is like taking little excerpts of songs and putting them in videos or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I just thought it was curious. So the next song I listened to was another acronym-based song, apparently, which is ETA.
Yeah.
That one I found interesting. So you mentioned last time that it's basically an iPhone ad.
Yeah. At the start of the music video, it says, shot on iPhone.
Right.
Whatever.
The song isn't singing about iPhones, but the music video is definitely involving that. But the thing that I found curious, because the first time that I listened to it without the music video, and I was looking at the lyrics on Spotify, but a curious thing about the difference between looking at the lyrics on Spotify and on YouTube is on Spotify, they'll write out the English lyrics and then they'll put the Korean lyrics in Korean.
Yeah.
They won't. It's not a translation. It's just the Korean characters, which I can't read.
I could if I wanted to,
but I didn't know what those lyrics meant. And this is an interesting lyrical group as well, I've found, because they seem to be almost like 50-50 English and Korean, switching back and forth regularly. So when I listened to ETA the first time, I, of course, understood the English lyrics, but I didn't understand any of the Korean lyrics. And then when I went back and watched the video, I realized that most of the Korean lyrics and the video itself are about an unfaithful boyfriend.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I would not have understood at all. Because, like, it's only the Korean lyrics that seem to reference that part of it. Like, just hearing the English lyrics, it made me think that the song was just like, it was just like a love song. It was just like...
Yeah. Like, even though in the song they just straight up say in English, boys be always lying.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's also, like, the, honestly, between us two or something like that, he's been totally lying, which is partly in Korean, so you could only see, honestly... He's been always lying is probably the only part you can understand from that.
And then in the video, it ends with, again, a very subtle, like, I interpret it as an implication that some sort of revenge had taken place.
Yeah.
Against the boyfriend.
Like, you could see the piece of fabric hanging out from the trunk of the car, which probably means that she shoved either the boyfriend and the girl, or just the boyfriend into the trunk.
Right.
Maybe he was alive.
And it doesn't give you a resolution. It just lets you, interpret it however you want to interpret it.
Because from what I remember of seeing, like, the New Jeans members, like, reacting to the music video and whatever, they were saying that, like, most of the parts were, like, her imagination of, like, what the worst possible thing could happen. But, like, we aren't really sure if the ending was what actually happened or what she thought she would do.
Right. And... I love that.
Yeah.
I love that it's open to interpretation.
I like to think that it's what she actually did, because that makes it funny.
Sure. Yeah, but also it's very curious because going back to the fact that it's also an iPhone ad, makes it curious that Apple would be willing to let that be associated with their brand, I guess. But...
Yeah. Because, like, on the thing, I'm pretty sure, like, when they were singing, it's like... the girls on the phone with the person, the girlfriend that they were talking to, informing her on what's happening while she's driving there, I believe.
So that was an interesting one. I didn't super connect with either of those songs musically, but again, I liked the other stuff that's going on around it with the video and all that. So the next song I listened to was Zero, and that one...
Another ad.
...is... explicitly a Coke ad.
Yeah.
Like, if I listened to ETA without having watched the video or known that it was associated with iPhones, there's nothing in the content of the song that makes it seem like an ad. The Zero one, they're saying
they're straight up just
Coca-Cola all the time.
Yeah, they're straight up telling you the song is about Coca-Cola. Like, wouldn't you agree with me that, like, the chorus is kind of lazy sounding?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, it's saying Coca-Cola and then something in Korean, which I didn't know until I saw the video and saw the translation was Coca-Cola is tasty, which is like, that's not even creative for a Coke advertiser. Like, which is, again, going back to my confusion about the enigma, which is New Jeans, which is like, they're on the one hand doing like these subtle artistic things, and on the other hand, they're just straight up making a song that's a Coke advertisement. I was disappointed because, like, this was the first song that started to connect with me musically. I thought it had a good beat to it. Like, I think it had that 808 stuff going on again. Yeah. And this was also the one where I started to see what you were talking about when you referred to them as being, like, retro and having, like, a Y2K vibe. Because in the video, like, there's also a conscious display of... I guess what would be considered retro technology now. Again, as an old person, it doesn't seem like it to me because these are all things that I used in my lifetime. But like, there's film cameras, there's vinyl records show up, and the fashion and whatever. And even like the beat that they're using is kind of a late 90s, early 2000s dance beat, which I don't have any complaints about. But I guess maybe this is the point at which I talk about my own Y2K experience, which is that on New Year's Eve of 1999, what I was doing was I went to a rave with your mother. And I was never a big rave kid. I grew up in a rural part of the country where that wasn't really accessible to me, but your mother grew up in an urban part of the country where she was going to raves all the time. And so when we first got together, which was in 1999, right before Y2K, well, technically in 1998, but we actually got married in 1999. The place I was at in my life was going to raves with her. So she was much into that dance music scene at that time, and it wasn't necessarily my kind of music, but I liked being with her and experiencing something that I hadn't experienced before. So yes, at the turn of the millennium, I was at a rave listening to dance music, which had beats very similar to a lot of the beats that we were hearing from New Jeans, which is interesting. And then, of course, because I work in technology, I had to go to work very early the next morning because everyone was afraid that the world was going to end because technology was going to stop working. Turns out it wasn't such a big deal, but
yeah.
So it goes.
Whenever I think about, like, your marriage, I think about Yeonjun from TXT was born 3 days after you guys got married.
Yeah, which, ironically, I hadn't thought of it, but as we're recording this today,
yeah,
it is my wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a long time ago. Anyway, getting back to Zero, because we've got a lot more New Jeans songs that I need to get through. One more thing that I noticed when I was listening to Zero, and maybe this has happened before, but I only just started noticing it in this song, is that they were doing cross-language rhymes.
Yeah.
So, like, they would rhyme words in English, and then the phrase would continue, like the musical phrase would continue into a Korean lyric, and the last word of that Korean lyric would rhyme with the English word. I don't have any examples because I can't replicate.
The only one that I could really think of is, like, in the chorus they say, Coca-Cola Mashita, or however it's pronounced, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and then they say, in the next part of the chorus, it's like, see you, we can catch it, here's your cola, and so there's, like, the Mashita and cola kind of rhymes.
But even in the verses, like, I mean, most pop music has rhyming lyrics.
Yeah.
And usually it's the last word of the phrase that rhymes of each couplet, but it would be like English rhyme, Korean rhyme, but all four of those words would rhyme together even though they were from different languages. I just thought that was interesting, and I noticed that it's kept happening in some of the other songs that I listened to. Yeah,
I was thinking, like, you couldn't really give me an example because you don't speak Korean.
No. So, okay, moving on. Next song, Hype Boy.
Yes.
So I ended up listening to several songs from the recent Get Up EP.
Yeah.
Which was the one that you mentioned last time that has the Powerpuff Girls style cover.
Yeah.
And then as I was listening to them, I noticed, like, oh, a lot of these songs that you mentioned are on that EP, and I ended up listening to the whole EP.
Yeah.
Which didn't take a lot of time because there's not that many songs, and also
they're kind of short.
I don't think there's any songs much longer than 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which honestly works. It works. As I was listening to these songs, like, these songs don't need to be any longer.
They're good. They're good songs.
They're doing exactly what they need to do and nothing more. So Hype Boy, this was a song that I started to get into the music a little bit more of. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than when I went to watch the video for it, I noticed there were, I think, at least 4 different versions of the video. I watched a couple of them and I think started at least one more, but I saw, like, there was one that was just them performing.
Yeah, there's, like, a performance video, like choreography practice video. There's, like, music videos. There's occasionally, like, part A and part B for music videos, which I don't understand why. And then there's, like, you know, lots of others.
Mm-hmm. Like, in this particular case, there was one where it was just, like, them on a, not on a stage, but, like, in a room. I don't know. Like, it was a
practice room?
It wasn't a practice room. It was, like, it was a performance on a, like, set.
Like, they're on a set with, like, their outfits and whatever.
Yeah, but it's just them dancing the whole time. And then there was another one which had, like, more of a narrative from characters' perspective of a couple of people in the group, and then I think there was another version from the perspective of a different person in the group. There was one that I recall had a basketball player that they were pursuing
Yeah.
as a romantic partner, I think. But it seemed like, again, from me watching it, it seemed like there might have been other stuff going on there.
Yeah, whenever I think of, like, K-pop groups where there's talking about, like, one guy where there's, like, 6 people talking about the same guy, it's kind of confusing, because, like, couldn't they find other people for the other members?
What?
And, like, one of them gets the guy? But, like, there's also songs like Boys Like You where they're all fighting for the one guy, which is, like, the main part of the song.
Okay, so the next song that I listened to was Super Shy.
Yes.
I just like that song.
Yeah, it's a good song.
It has, again, a lot of these songs from this recent EP have a very late 90s, early 2000s sort of techno, trance, ambient kind of thing going on. A lot of 808s, a lot of dance beats that are very familiar to me. Yeah, I was prepared to say, okay, well, this is the one. This Super Shy is the one that is like, that's the one that I like the most of all of these. And then the next song that I had listed to listen to was the one that you mentioned, Get Up, which is both the title track of the EP as well as the song we talked about.
And it's less than a minute long.
It's 36 seconds long.
Yeah. What's the point of making a song if it's not going to be normal song length?
Well, I know we talked about that before, and I was prepared to think of it as just like a throwaway thing. Like, I agreed with your logic going into it, like 36 seconds, why bother? Like, it's going to just be whatever. And then I listened to it. It's all in English. It's basically the same 4 or 5 lines repeated twice, but I don't have an explanation for why. I can't
Just
tell
like
you.
Something about it connected with you.
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't listened to the actual full song, but like from what I can remember, it's probably one of my least favorite, I guess, but I haven't listened to it in a while, so maybe I'll re-listen to it and understand what you're talking about.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm not saying that anybody other than me should or shouldn't like it, but for me, it really worked. and again, I'm not sure I can articulate why it works. I think it's something about that subtle melancholy.
Yeah.
There's this thing that people have done where they like try to tell a whole story in one sentence, or like a 1-paragraph novel or something like that. And this song is that to me. Again, it doesn't do any more than it needs to. Like, that song happens and then it's done, and that is everything you need from that song, everything I need from that song. Which is, I'll be honest, I don't typically come into these necessarily thinking that I'm going to come away with anything that really connects with me. But that one, I'm still thinking about it. Honestly, I'm a little shook by that song, and by the EP in general, because like at that point I was like, okay, I need to listen to all of this.
Yeah.
And at that point I hadn't even gone to watch the videos yet, so I listened to the other 2 songs that were on the EP that I haven't mentioned yet, which are Cool With You,
Yeah.
and New Jeans,
Yeah.
which both of those are perfectly fine songs. I will also say, anybody who's listening, there's 2 Cool With You videos.
Yeah, there's like part A and part B.
Right.
Which happens before. It just happened before in New Jeans music videos and whatever. Don't quite understand the meaning of it, though.
I don't understand why they do it that way, but having watched them both, because I was looking for a video for Get Up, and there isn't really one.
Yeah, it's like at the end of part B.
Right. And so I was like, okay, if this is part B, I need to watch part A first for context.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that I did, because it does, like, part B picks up exactly where part A left off. And it's like, the whole thing is like as good a short film as I've seen in recent memory.
I can't quite remember what it's actually fully about.
And the members of New Jeans appear in both, but
It's mostly about the one person. In, part A, from what I can remember.
I'm going to encourage people to go watch them both.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, give the whole story, but it's the story of a possible romance, I guess, between 2 people. And it's just really well made. It's just...
Yeah, the one thing that I don't really understand is about, the main person that isn't New Jeans is, in the elevator scene. Like, how? What? Is she even human? Because, like, people listening to this aren't going to understand what I'm talking about right now. If you want to know what I'm talking about, watch the videos.
You should watch it. You should get in touch with us and tell us what you think. To me, again, it's part of the whole enigma of New Jeans, in which there is this undercurrent of melancholy and maybe something sinister. And when I think of pop generally and K-pop specifically, I don't think about subtlety. Usually pop is like very in your face. It's like bright colors, it's big hooks, it's catchy beats, and they have those. They have all that stuff, but they also have something else that's just like a little something behind the curtain that you're like, what's going on there? And they're smart in that they're subtle enough to not put it all out there.
Yeah.
Like, they keep you wanting to find out something more because there's clearly something going on that they're not telling you.
Like, what is the deal with the lady? Is she a human? Like, what is she? And, like, what's the deal with the boyfriend and girlfriend? Did she end up killing him? Like, why would you kill your boyfriend over that, though? Like,
well, what
happened to them?
I can't endorse anything violent like that.
Don't kill your boyfriends.
Don't kill anyone.
Yeah.
But everybody knows the experience. Everybody's had the thought, even though they would never, ever follow through on it. Like, oh, that makes me so mad that I would do something drastic. And I think you're right in your interpretation of, like, maybe that's just a fantasy. Maybe that's just in someone's mind. But still, there's something about that connects with me.
Like, she didn't end up driving the car off the cliff. She just left it there. So, like, how did she get home if she drove all the way up to a cliff with her car?
Yeah, these are all good questions. And the fact that they're unanswered questions, I find really impactful. If you do watch both of the videos, you will end up listening to the same song twice in a row.
Yeah. It's like the same song, but with different visuals, I guess.
But I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, well, we've been talking about New Jeans for a long time now.
Yeah. If you want, sometime I could teach you some New Jeans choreography.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, they definitely have some serious choreography going on in all of these as well.
Yeah.
But I was not anticipating that I would be as affected by New Jeans as I have been. And I appreciate that you've introduced me to them, because sometimes you find things that you didn't expect. And that kind of surprise is sometimes rare, especially.
I think I'm unintentionally turning you into a K-pop fan.
Well, I don't know about that, but if that's the way you want to feel about it, I'm not going to argue with you.
I would start bursting out in laughter if, like, we're listening to music and, like, I don't know, Queen is playing and then the next song is just Get Up by New Jeans, which is completely random.
Yeah, that would be pretty random. But as we go, I'm slowly compiling the ones in my mind that, I'll be perfectly honest, some of them I probably won't ever listen to again. But some of these are affecting me in a way that I didn't anticipate.
Who knows, maybe we'll learn the 30-second lyrics of Get Up and sing that.
I don't know that I could do that at a karaoke situation, because that song...
Does it just, like, not really fit your vocals?
No, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. I was thinking of it, like, just from an emotional perspective. Like, I don't know that I could take myself to that emotional place in a karaoke context and feel good about it.
I could probably. I mean, I have songs that I know the lyrics to, but I would never sing them at karaoke.
Oh, sure. For
yeah.
Sure. Same. Okay. Anyway, our stated goal today is to talk about SSERAFIM.
Yes.
So let's switch gears and talk about SSERAFIM, which I know nothing about.
Yes. SSERAFIM, spelled Lesserafim.
That's an interesting, I have seen it before because, as I've said, I've, downloaded stuff for you before, and so I saw it spelled out. It's a very curious spelling because it's not, there's two S's for starters.
Yeah.
And I don't know, do you know anything about why it's spelled in that particular way?
No, not that I can remember.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you know what a seraphim is?
No.
Or I guess seraphim is a plural.
Yeah.
Seraph would be the singular. So in Christian iconography, there's angels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the short answer is that a seraph is an angel.
Mm.
But like in Christian mythology, there's a hierarchy of angels. There's like different kinds of angels with different rankings and different responsibilities. Just like you've probably heard of a cherub, right?
No.
You've never heard of a cherub?
Not that I can think of.
So generally a cherub is depicted in art as being like a fat little baby with wings.
I know what it is now.
Right. I'm
just
trying
don't
to...
recognize it by the name.
Sure.
Because, like, just the description of fat little baby with wings.
Right. Like, if you think of the typical depiction of, like, Cupid.
Yeah.
Cupid, of course, is a Roman god.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of the Greek god Eros. But usually in classical art, they're depicted as a fat little baby with wings.
Yeah.
And that is cherub. The plural of cherub is cherubim. So a seraph is another kind of angel.
So it'd be seraphim.
Yeah, the plural of which is seraphim. So, sorry I took us on that little aside, but I suspected maybe you hadn't heard that term before, so.
Yeah. I remember seeing this one clip of, like, somebody taking, or, like, even, like, Le Seraphim themselves taking the letters of Le Seraphim and spelling something else. I can't remember it, because, like, their fan group is called Fearless, but that doesn't have an I, so, like... Or maybe it could be I'm Fearless, but I don't remember.
You think it might be a anagram of something?
Maybe, because, like, why would they make a group with something that, like, has a meaning of some sort, and then, like, saying that it's actually, like, a misspelled version of this, but, like, I think they would have been aware of, like, a serif and whatever.
Yeah, I mean...
when making this.
I'm sure that they knew what they were referring to, but, I mean, it's also... I mean, it's not just the double S, also, like, traditionally it would be spelled with a PH instead of an F, but, obviously... Well, maybe it's not obvious. My assumption would be that they are thinking of the angel definition in some way, but I don't know anything about this group, so what do you think about that?
From what I think of Le Seraphim, I can't really think of it being, like, a very angel-y type concept.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm pretty sure they do have a somewhat girl crush concept.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, more about Le Seraphim in general. They have 5 members, from oldest to youngest is Sakura, Chaewon, Yeonjin, Kazuha, and Eunchae, and the only really, the foreign members are Sakura and Kazuha, who are both Japanese, and Yeonjin, who is Korean-American.
Okay.
Fun fact about Yeonjin is not only she has, like, her own little solo career where she has, like, a pretty famous song called I does not equal doll, meaning, like, idol. I'm not a doll.
Okay.
And it's sort of like talking about, like, I'm my own person, I can do what I want. You can't play with me like a doll. One of my favorite lines in that song is just go idolize your idol life, because that just sounds fun.
That's a pretty good wordplay there, I gotta say.
And also, like, they love when I'm a mess, damsel in distress, and then Korean. But, like, the whole song is pretty good. It's, like, it's in my playlist. I like the song. She does have, like, a solo career, and, like, recently, actually, she released a song, but, like, does not equal doll is probably the only Yeonjin song I listen to, because, like, it's just the one that I think sounds the best, and also, I don't know, I kind of like the meaning, and it's, like, very rare, because in this song, they curse a little bit, and it's very rare for K-pop people to curse. But, like, it's happened before. Like, for example, in another Le Seraphim song, Fearless, I believe, they say the bitch word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeonjin actually has been trained in, like, opera singing.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, from what I hear in, like, her music, or, like, Le Seraphim's music in general, they don't really use that part of, like, her abilities. It's just, like, funny, because from the music that they have, you wouldn't expect her to be trained in opera singing.
Yeah.
Because, like, the other member... Sorry for cutting you off. But, like, the other members... Kazuha is trained in ballet, and so, like, in a few moves, they use her ballet training for that, but they don't use Kazuha's opera singing, but I don't know why they would use that for K-pop, because that's just...
I mean, it's a very different style, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because, like, we don't typically think about there's a different definition of what a good singer is depending on what type of music you're singing, because, like, usually when you're talking about somebody being a good singer, that's assumed that like they can do anything or whatever, but, like, obviously somebody who's classically trained for that style of music is going to have a different vocal quality and a different kind of delivery than you would for someone who's a pop singer. And honestly, within pop, there's lots of different styles of vocal quality as well, which is, I guess I never really thought about that people don't really make those kind of distinctions that often because it's so rare for people to cross over from one to another.
Yeah. The SSERAFIM debuted on May 2nd, 2022, so they're fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
They debuted with the song Fearless, which I mentioned earlier, which is pretty good song. I know most of the choreography, at least. Like, I know most of the choreography for some of the Le SSERAFIM songs, just because, like, I feel like they're fun to dance to, and they have somewhat easy, at least in my opinion, choreography. Because the last time I tried to teach you K-pop choreography, you learned it a lot slower than I would.
Yeah.
But then again, there's also the thing of, like, I'm younger, so I learn better, maybe, from what I can remember of my science class, because we learned about that recently.
Yeah, that's legit.
That's why it's better to learn a language when you're younger.
Yeah, definitely. Your brain is still developing, and mine has...
pretty much already developed.
And it's probably not going to develop anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
At best, it's going the other direction.
But their most recent song is Unforgiven, featuring Nile Rodgers.
Nile Rodgers? Okay, now we're talking. I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah, that is pretty popular in K-pop. I don't really have much to say about it. Like, I like most of the SSERAFIM songs. The only thing I can really think of to say about it that, like, popped out at the start was, like, you know, it has catchy lyrics, it has, like, a cool music video, and, like, you know, I know the dance to, like, most of the chorus, because there's, like, around 3 choruses, because in K-pop choreography you have, like, a pre-chorus, a chorus, which have their own choreography, which is usually the choreography that people learn the most. And then there's, like, you know, the second chorus, which pretty much has the same, other than, like, a few changes in, like, the pre-chorus, maybe, which happens in Unforgiven. And then there's, like, the third chorus, where, like, the choreography completely changes, pretty much. So, yeah, people usually learn the first chorus.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But some people learn the whole choreography, which I tried before, and it didn't work, because I could barely do the first move. I just kind of know choreography. I don't really learn it. I just have it pop into my head somehow, and I have no idea how.
I mean, if that is something that I could have, I would have it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that, but maybe you're lucky.
Yeah. Like, the only thing really that pops out for me with the song is, like, the Japanese version, because recently they released, like, a Japanese version of some of their songs. Like, the singing from, I believe it was Chaewon, sounds completely different. Like, if you listen to the Korean version and, like, kind of get that way of singing in your head, and then you listen to the Japanese version, she has, like, a completely different voice, and it's confusing me so much. It's more extreme.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
Is Chaewon one of the Japanese members?
No, she's Korean.
Oh, okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah, she's actually the leader, and usually, from what I can remember, the leader was originally supposed to be Sakura because she's the oldest, but I believe that she only agreed to be in the group as long as she wouldn't be the leader, which I find funny.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that last time. Yeah. No, I mean, I get it, though, as I said last time.
There's so many priorities for a leader.
Yeah. So I feel obligated as an old person to take us back a minute because you brought up Nile Rodgers.
Yes.
And so I need to talk about Nile Rodgers for a second. Do you know who Nile Rodgers is?
Kind of.
Ish? Yeah, okay,
Like,
fair enough.
I know from one of my siblings a few songs that he's been on, and so that's most likely where I know of him.
Okay.
But I've never really heard his name before.
Well, I guarantee that your mother and I have sat and talked about Nile Rodgers. I don't know if you were around at the time, but that is somebody that we definitely have a lot of thoughts and feelings and respect for.
Like, what's an example for a song that I would know that he was on?
So, okay, I'm going to take us all the way back real quick, and I'll get to your question in a second. So Nile Rodgers, for people who are listening and don't know who he is either, was originally in the band Chic, and Chic is probably best known for the song Le Freak. Aw, freak out.
Oh, yeah. Free cow. Free cow.
And there's a whole story behind that song, too, which is not appropriate for this podcast, but go look it up if you're interested. But so they were a disco band, but he has been a writer / producer on a ton of popular music since the 70s. He was a producer for Madonna. You know, he's been a guest artist on a million people's records. The song, to answer your earlier question, that comes to mind first for me that you would probably know that he was on is Get Lucky.
Oh, yeah. I know that one.
With Pharrell and the Robot Guys.
Daft Punk.
Thank you. So, yes, amazing guitarist, amazing songwriter and producer. If we looked up Nile Rodgers' discography right now, I could read off probably a dozen songs that almost everybody knows.
I bet if we looked at like a Spotify list, or if he has his own Spotify account, Unforgiven would probably be pretty high up on the list of like his most popular songs, because it's a popular song.
Yeah, it very well could be, but he's been making popular songs for 4 decades now, so if not more. Anyway, if you're curious, go look up Nile Rodgers' songs that he's one of those guys, like, he's not necessarily a household name the way, like, you know, some of the people that he's worked with are, because he is kind of more of a behind the scenes guy. Like, he's playing guitar on tracks, he's producing them, he's songwriting them. But if you went and looked what songs he's been involved with, it's just like top 10 hit after top 10 hit after, you know, number 1 hit after whatever. So,
but yeah, I remember looking up Unforgiven on YouTube and seeing those things where it's like the lyrics and like who sings the lyrics in like Korean romanized in English, and it was like, you know, all the members and then Nile Rodgers, but he doesn't actually say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just there but never actually talks.
Yeah, like, he's not a singer, really. He's never been a singer. He's
pretty sure I've never heard his voice ever.
He's just doing everything else.
Yeah. But like, another thing on that album that they had with Unforgiven was the song Eve Syke and the Bluebeard's Wife.
Okay.
Yeah. Which must have been a nightmare to translate into Korean.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. They never actually say the name, so I have no idea how it's related to the song. Because, like, they say Unforgiven, and they say Fearless, and they say all the other titles pretty much, but never Eve Syke and the Bluebeard's Wife, because that's kind of hard to fit into a song. Because, like, especially in the chorus, how would they fit all that into a chorus without it taking up, like, the entire thing? Because you've never heard it.
Nope.
I've heard it. From what I think, you could probably not fit that title in there very easily.
No, almost always the name of a song is whatever the hook is, you know?
Yeah.
There's a small handful out there of the songs where they have a title that's just unrelated to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Or not at least explicitly stated in the lyrics.
But, like, there's lots of different versions of Eve Syke and the Bluebeard's Wife. For example, like, you know, the remix featuring other artists, and, like, the English version, and the normal, and the Japanese version, and all this other stuff. I could never get used to the English version. Like, I've listened to it a few times, but I'm just so used to hearing the Korean that I just don't really... It feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when they make, like, Korean or Japanese versions, it doesn't really feel right to me.
Yeah.
So I just listen to the normal one, except for the Japanese version. I think the Japanese version of Unforgiven is better than the Korean version.
Cool. I think it's sort of like for me when every now and then on Spotify you'll come across a song where the artist has re-recorded it from the original recording because, you know, like they didn't own the master or whatever, and so they have recorded it again so that they can actually profit from the streams, which I totally get from a, business perspective.
Like the whole Taylor's version from Taylor Swift and stuff.
Yeah, and whenever I come across one where it's not the original version and it starts playing and like you hear it, it's the same exact song, but you just hear something different about it, like the production's a little different, and then you hear like maybe
like a change in the singer's voice or something.
Right, and you're like, this isn't right. Something's not right here. So I get that.
Yeah. Speaking of like re-recording songs from before, SSERAFIM actually has an ex-member who I believe got kicked out from like a bullying scandal, which happens a lot in K-pop members getting kicked out. Because like there's a difference between leaving and getting kicked out. Because like if you leave, there's like, I don't know, maybe the company wasn't treating you well or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like getting kicked out is like for a specific reason, like a dating scandal or a bullying scandal or something like that.
It's you're fired versus I quit.
Yeah. Their name is Garam.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean, it's a Korean name.
Sure.
I believe she was kicked out for a bullying scandal. I don't believe I said sincerely, but this is a girl group. I just didn't remember to say that.
Oh. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Because, like, she's been there for a bit. Like, I'm pretty sure she's only been there for, like, one song/album, which is, like, the Fearless song. So, like, I saw one time we were playing SSERAFIM in the car, and it said, like, 2023 version, and I'm like, what? And then I heard, like, a slight difference in the voice, and I'm like, oh, that must have been her lines, because she's not in the group anymore.
Oh, so they re-recorded it with other people taking her parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, now, if they perform those songs again, they have to change it so that, like, somebody else gets her lines, because she's not there to sing them.
Sure, that makes sense.
And so, SSERAFIM is from Hive labels under the company Source Music.
Mm-hmm.
Sakura and Chaewon are actually from their ex-IZ*ONE members, because IZ*ONE was a group that originally was active, and then they disbanded. So they're no longer, like, an actual group. Like, all the members have gone into different places. Like, some of them quit the K-pop life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like, re-debuted, like Sakura and Chaewon. And the funny, like, kind of coincidence or something, but Eunchae, their youngest, was a fan of IZ*ONE, and so now they get to be in a K-pop group with two IZ*ONE members.
Oh, that's cool.
Or former IZ*ONE members. But yeah. I'm pretty sure we're going to get to IZ*ONE in some other episode, so we can talk about that more later.
Sure.
But, like, I like most of SSERAFIM's songs. And, like, I know the choreography and stuff. There's, like... like... With SSERAFIM songs, there's nothing, like, really special about it that I, like, would rant on for hours about. I just like their music, and I think they're fun. Because, like, they're one of those groups that isn't very serious, but also is at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know how to explain it, because, like, actually, I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. Well, like I was saying earlier with my thing with New Jeans, I don't know that I understand it either.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just connects with you in some sort of emotional way.
Like, anytime you want, I could teach you some SSERAFIM, some New Jeans, choreography, or it's even.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. We'll do some choreography stuff in the future, I'm sure. It's just a matter of maybe once the first wave of school here settles down a little bit, we'll have some more time.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, Yeonjin has, like, a whole completely different solo career, and, like, I really like her because, like, she's kind of relatable and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, another thing is, like, she wants, as she says in her own words, she wants to change the K-pop industry / idol industry. Because, like, for example, she, like, one time was in, like, a full white outfit in, like, a white backdrop and whatever, started putting paint everywhere, like rainbow paint, like it's all in her hair, and like it was for the Pride community.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, me as a queer individual, I liked that because in K-pop you don't really hear much about, like, the queer community, except for, like, I've heard of one maybe queer person that, like, might have been in K-pop, but I can't remember. I can't remember if they were a K-pop or a Korean pop singer.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Because those are two different things.
Sure.
she would go as far to put paint in her hair just to, like, get the message out that, like, she cares for everyone.
Yeah.
And she's, like, a good person. She's funny, she's kind, she has a nice singing voice.
Yeah, and that makes you feel seen and heard and acknowledged. That's great. Because,
like, seeing as the K-pop industry is, like, kind of a toxic environment.
It certainly seems like it could be,
like,
sure.
Pressures people into certain body types and stuff like that.
Especially when it comes to the girl groups.
Yeah, because they're, like, pressured to do a lot of things, and there's, like, double standards and everything.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say that necessarily because I don't really know. And I'm sure the boys in K-pop are also pressured to meet certain, beauty standards and all that too. Certainly not in the same way that women historically have always been.
Yeah, like, for example, one of the double standards of, like, one male K-pop idol was reading a feminist book and they were, like, praised for being, like, educated and stuff, but, like, I can't remember if it was, like, Irene from Red Velvet, or it was some female K-pop idol who was reading a feminist book and, they started getting a bunch of hate, and I don't quite remember why.
Well, I don't really know anything about Korean culture from the perspective of gender politics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but it seems like patriarchy is everywhere,
Yeah.
And so there's always going to be toxic masculinity or, ingrained patriarchy in pretty much all cultures around the world, I'm sure. So, unfortunately, it's not surprising, but it is disappointing.
Another thing in K-pop is, like, some of the K-pop idols, specifically women, get, like, sexualized and sexually harassed occasionally. And so that's why I like G-Idol, because they have songs that are, like, telling women to, like, speak out about that stuff. Specifically, the song Nude is, like, specifically about, like, speaking out against being sexualized. And so, like, we'll get into G-Idol another day. Yeonjun speaks out about stuff like that, and I like listening to her music, not only because I like her, but also just because, like, some of the messages in there are pretty important.
For sure.
And it's always, like, nice to listen to a song by, like, a female K-pop idol talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, because talking about it is how it changes.
Yeah, and, like, usually the K-pop companies wouldn't want that to happen, because, like, sometimes they're the reasons why this is happening.
For sure, and I'm sure also, like, that kind of controversy can affect the bottom line, and honestly, a company is a company because it's trying to make money, so...
And, like, another thing about, like, the K-pop industry being kind of toxic is, like, since everybody in the K-pop industry is, like, all perfect and whatever, it's, like, perfect skin and perfect bodies, a lot of K-pop fans, or, like, people who are somewhat into, like, Korean trends are, like, insecure and feel like they're pressured to look perfect and stuff like that. Another example is G-Idol's song Queen Card is, like, feeling good in your own body, because, like, for example, the start of the music video is Soyeon going into, like, a hospital to get plastic surgery, but then in the end she doesn't end up doing it, and she goes and has fun with some other friends and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to be in an industry where your appearance is a big part of what you're selling. Like, obviously, their musical talent and their ability to dance and all of that stuff is an important part of it, but it would be disingenuous to suggest that their appearance isn't also part of what they're selling. And so, like, even when I'm watching these videos, like, I appreciate the skilled dancing that they're doing. Obviously, they've been working for a long time to be able to get to the level that they're at with their vocals, with their choreography, etc. But they're also always styled to the absolute last detail,
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting perspective to take on it because, like, for example, I see you dressing in ways that emulate a lot of the idols that you're a fan of, which I think is cool that you've found your style and
I like basing my outfits off of K-pop songs.
Sure. And, like, it's one thing to be a person who can dress up and go out and show off your fashion, your style, whatever, but also you get to come home and put on your PJs and relax. Whereas these K-pop idols, we don't see that. All we ever see is the completely styled, perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect outfit. And so it sometimes is hard to remember, like, oh, that's just a person.
That's a human being.
Right. Who also
has their own personality and, like, their own feelings and stuff. Except for the occasional, like, one group I've heard of, which is all AI members. Which K-pop idols were getting kind of worried about, because that was pretty popular, and people were like, what if we just get replaced by these robots?
I mean, that is a lot of conversation going around that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's always good to remember that the thing that these people are putting forward is crafted. It's not automatic. It doesn't just happen. It's because they've put in all the work and the behind the scenes to get to that place where they're on stage or on camera. And so you don't see all of the times that they failed in order to look as perfect as they do when you're actually seeing the final product.
Yeah. That's why I mostly like to focus on, like, their vocals and their dancing and all this stuff that they've, like, trained for maybe years. Because, like, the longest trainee period that I can think of would be, like, Geo from Twice had 10 years, or it was either that or 7 years. Because I can't remember, because there's Geo and Bang Chan from Stray Kids that, like, have pretty long... Mm-hmm. One of them has the 10-year and the other one has the 7 years.
Okay.
But that's long.
Yeah, that is.
And then I've heard of, like, a Luna member, I believe, that had only been a trainee for one day before they debuted, which seems outrageous.
Yeah.
Because, like, sure, I think they look nice, but, like, it's usually, or not actually really usually, like, they get plastic surgery, or, like, sometimes they were born with that, which is really special.
Yeah, but I think for me, like, the thing that pop culture always tries to put forward is the idea that, like, they're trying to make it look easy, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to make being that talented or that skilled or that beautiful or whatever seem like it's just automatic. And it's never automatic, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, sometimes it's plastic surgery, but sometimes it's, like, all of the training that they've done, whether that's like physical training to lose weight and build muscle and look attractive in that stereotypical way, or all of the vocal training, or all of the practice that they put into the choreography or whatever. And I think it's always a useful message to remind people you don't have to be perfect right away. You always are going to be bad at something before you're good at something. And I'm sure that's true for every K-pop idol out there. Like, maybe the companies don't want you to think about it that way, and maybe even the individuals, because, like, it feels good to be perceived as an expert at something, but you get to be an expert at something by working hard to become an expert at something.
Because, like, you've heard of, like, practice makes perfect, but I'd rather say practice makes pretty good, because nothing's perfect.
That's absolutely true. It's always good to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So I wrote down a couple of songs here from SSERAFIM that I'm going to check out. Any other songs you can think of that I would maybe like?
What do you have written down?
Well, I have Fearless and Unforgiven. And I also took note about I Does Not Equal Doll.
Yeah.
Which I understand is a solo song. It's not a SSERAFIM song, but any other stuff come to mind?
I definitely encourage you to listen to the Japanese version of Unforgiven, and also probably Anti-Fragile, because that one's a good song and has a nice beat and stuff. I think you would like it, maybe.
Okay. All right, well, that gives me some stuff to check out. Who are we going to talk about next week?
Next week, we are going to talk about 17.
17, okay. I'll learn about 17.
Yeah.
Okay, well, earlier I know that we mentioned that we wanted to hear from people and what their thoughts were on some of the things we talked about, including, like, for example, we talked about what do you think about the end of that ETA video?
Like, do you think it was real life or was her imagination or something?
So there's lots of ways that you can reach us. We've got an email address. It's kpopforoldpeople@gmail.com. You can always go and comment on our YouTube videos as well. We read the comments there. And, we're eager to hear what people think and be part of the conversation. If you have questions for us, maybe we can answer them in a future episode.
Yeah.
Don't forget to give us a review on whatever podcast platform you might be listening to. That might help as well. Mm-hmm. I guess that's it then. So thanks for listening, and I guess we'll talk to you next time.
Annyeong.